My name is Tony Robbins. For over 4 decades, I've committed my life to helping people awaken the giant within, to master their emotions, break through limitations, and create a life on their terms. I've had the privilege of working with presidents, athletes, CEO, and millions around the world, not because I have all the answers, but because I've learned to ask the right questions, to listen deeply, and to guide others back to their own power. And if there's one truth that's become clearer than ever as we move into 2025, it's this: you must focus on yourself, and you must master the power of silence. See, here's the deal. We live in a world that's louder than it's ever been. Everyone's talking, everyone's posting, everyone's arguing, pointing fingers, and pretending they have it all figured out. But the ones who are really winning, the ones who are actually building, growing, transforming, they're doing it in silence, they're doing it in focus, and they're doing it for themselves. Not for likes, not for applause, not for validation. You've got to reclaim your energy, because the truth is, your focus is your most powerful resource. Where your focus goes, energy flows. That's not just a catchy phrase, that's how your life is built. The difference between a fulfilling, powerful, purpose-driven life and one of regret and mediocrity comes down to how well you protect your focus. And right now more than ever, your focus is under attack. Scroll, comment, scroll, compare, react, rage, scroll again. You're being trained to respond, not to reflect. You're being wired to seek noise instead of stillness. But listen to me, everything you want, everything you desire, all the growth, all the transformation, it happens in the silence. It happens when you go inward. This year, 2025, has to be the year you shut out the noise and start listening to the one voice that matters most, your own. Not the voice that's scared, not the voice that's reacting to pain, but the deeper one, the voice of your truth. That's the voice that gets drowned out when you're too busy performing for the world. People say, Tony, I feel lost, I feel like I'm falling behind, I feel like I don't know who I am anymore. And you know what I say, of course you do, because you've given your attention to everything and everyone except yourself. Let me be real with you, most people are addicted to being seen. They're addicted to being understood, to being heard, to being validated by strangers who are just as lost as they are. They post something, they wait for a response, and they measure their worth by how many little hearts show up on a screen. But the people who are truly focused, they're not talking, they're working, they're healing. They're building, they're evolving in the dark. While others are seeking attention, they're seeking alignment. There's an unshakable power in being underestimated, in staying silent, in letting your actions speak so loudly that the world can't help but take notice later, when it's already too late for them to catch up. That's the power you step into when you stop chasing attention and start honoring your own path. I'm not talking about shutting people out or becoming some lone wolf. I'm talking about developing such a deep connection with your own inner world that you no longer need constant noise to feel alive. I'm talking about shifting your identity from being externally driven to internally anchored. You've got to ask yourself right now, who am I becoming? Not what do people think of me? Not am I winning on social media? But truly, am I aligned with the person I know I'm meant to be? That answer doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from the applause or the comments or the algorithms. It comes from going inward, from practicing silence, from focusing your time, your energy, your heart, your soul on things that actually move the needle in your life. That's the strategy in 2025. You win by keeping your circle tight. You win by being intentional with your time. You win by doubling down on your habits, your routines, your standards. Not because the world is watching, but because you're watching. And you're no longer willing to betray yourself just to keep up appearances. Let the world keep talking. You stay focused. Let them debate. You elevate. Let them broadcast every little move. They need that. You don't. You've outgrown the need to be seen. You don't need to explain your growth. You don't need to justify your silence. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You need to focus on your mission. You need to become so immersed in your purpose, in your healing, in your leveling up, that you no longer have the bandwidth for distractions. You want to change your life in 2025. Start with silence. Start with stillness. Start with eliminating every voice that's not contributing to your expansion. The most dangerous thing you can do is continue to live in reaction. Reaction to fear, reaction to criticism, reaction to what they said, what they posted, what they think. Forget that. You were born to create. You were born to shape. You were born to build something real, something lasting. That doesn't happen in the comments section. That doesn't happen in debates or drama or gossip. It happens in the dark room where you're grinding, where you're journaling, where you're meditating, where you're doing the deep work nobody else is willing to do. And I promise you this, the world may not notice at first. But when it does, it'll be undeniable, because the results will speak for themselves. You know what most people do. They start strong, they feel motivated for a day, a week, maybe a month if they're lucky. Then what happens? They get distracted, something shiny pulls their focus. Someone else's drama becomes more important than their own discipline, and just like that, they're off track again. You ever experience that? But let me tell you something that's changed my life and the lives of countless others. Discipline is freedom, and silence is the gateway to that discipline. You don't get disciplined by screaming your goals out to the world. You get disciplined by committing in silence and executing relentlessly. You don't have to announce that you're working on yourself. You don't need to post a quote every time you have a moment of clarity. Growth isn't always glamorous. It's gritty. It's uncomfortable. It's waking up early when no one's watching. It's turning down distractions when no one's clapping. It's choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term dopamine. You know what's sexy in 2025? Self-respect, emotional control, inner peace. That's the currency now. Not popularity, not noise, not fake hustle. It's about whether or not you can look in the mirror and say, I kept my promises, I didn't fold, I stayed locked in. And here's the kicker, you don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're elevating. You don't owe them an update. Growth is not a group activity. Some people won't understand why you're so quiet, why you're no longer as accessible, why you don't show up for everything anymore. That's okay, let them wonder, let them misinterpret, let them think what they want, because you've got something they don't have, clarity. Clarity is power, and clarity comes when you silence the noise and listen to the voice that's been buried under other people's opinions for far too long. You've got to protect your peace like it's your oxygen. You've got to learn to say no, without guilt, not now. Without fear, and I'm busy, without apology. Busy doing what? Busy becoming the most unstoppable version of yourself. You see, the real flex in 2025 isn't showing off, it's showing up. Every single day, when it's hard, when it's lonely, when it's quiet, when it's boring, when the world is doing something else and you're doing the work. That's how legacies are built. That's how you go from average to exceptional. Not by trying to impress, but by trying to improve. Not by shouting louder, but by becoming sharper. Now, let me ask you something. Who would you be if you truly gave yourself the gift of focus this year? Not surface-level focus, not I'm kind of working on it. I'm talking about locked-in, obsessed, unapologetic focus. The kind of focus where you say, this is my year, and I'm not letting anything or anyone take me off this path. Imagine if, for the next 12 months, you did everything in silence. Imagine if you stopped trying to prove and just started producing. Imagine if you stopped announcing and started aligning. How different would your life look in a year? How powerful would you be? This is where transformation begins. It begins when you decide that your energy is too valuable to be wasted, that your dreams are too sacred to be shared with people who won't understand, that your growth is too important to be diluted by distractions. You've got to stop asking for permission to be great. Stop waiting for support. Stop needing a crowd. Sometimes you've got to be your own cheerleader, your own coach, your own accountability partner. You've got to build the discipline that doesn't depend on hype but on hunger. People often say to me, Tony, I feel like I don't fit in anymore. Good, that means you're evolving. That means your energy is shifting. That means you're leveling up. Don't shrink to fit into rooms you've outgrown. Don't lower your volume for people who can't handle your silence. And hear me when I say this, not everyone can come with you. You're going to lose some people this year, and that's okay. Let them go, not with anger, not with bitterness, just with clarity. You're not abandoning them. You're choosing you, and for the first time in a long time, that choice needs to be enough. Because what's the cost of not focusing on yourself? What's the cost of staying stuck in cycles you've outgrown? What's the cost of keeping your mouth open when silence would give you peace, direction, and power? You already know the answer. You've lived the cost. You've felt the pain of being scattered, of giving your energy to things and people that don't reciprocate, of letting the world pull you in 100 different directions while your own goals gather dust on a shelf labeled someday. But someday isn't a day of the week. Someday is an excuse, and in 2025 we're done with excuses. We're building, we're healing, we're aligning. You want to know who wins in this decade? It's not the loudest. It's not the most dramatic. It's not the one with the biggest audience. It's the one with the most focus. The one who's willing to be misunderstood for a season so they can be unshakable for a lifetime. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them project their limitations on you. You stay silent, you stay focused, you stay dangerous, because the most dangerous person is the one who doesn't need validation. The one who doesn't seek attention. The one who can delay gratification, stay consistent, and build quietly while the rest of the world plays games. You've got to become unrecognizable. Let this be the year you disappear. Not physically, but mentally and emotionally, from everything that drains you, distracts you, and disconnects you from your mission. Disappear into your discipline, disappear into your development, disappear into your self-respect, and when you re-emerge, they won't recognize you, not because you've changed, but because you've finally become who you were always meant to be.